What is up, guys, and welcome to today's video. I know I promised you guys that I was gonna fully update you on my competition plans this year in this video. I think that's gonna come in the next one. I wanted to tie it in with the livery reveal just so I could link in with all my partners because it is all very related to the plans that are happening this year. However, we're running a little bit behind on that, so I wanna do one big grand reveal and talk about everything. So for today, we're gonna really dive into the details of this build. I know we've been giving you kind of surface level updates, but I haven't fully unpacked what the methodology is behind this car and kind of why we're building it the way that we are.
We are back.
We are back. We all are closer every day. The manifold's officially on, so that's good. We have all the PRP hardware, titanium hardware. Remember, we're going for lightweight.
50-50 weight savings here.
I could put the titanium downpipe on, get one step closer to finishing this thing up. But we're doing pretty much all the final button-up things. So pretty much when we receive some of the key components that we're missing, it's pretty much just that.
Yeah.
And then get the car with fluids, bleed everything out, fire it up, let the tuner do his thing, get the engine to break in. Still quite to do, but it's flowing and it's not a crazy amount of stuff. Right now, our main focus is to get the drivetrain running, everything mechanically done, so we can get it on the dyno. Should be having our DC power alternators pretty soon. I'll make that line up, crimp it up, and then that's it. We're good with the lines. We gotta make sure that we blow out the fuel lines because I didn't do those, so I just wanna put my hands on those, blow them out, then put them back on the car, zip tie them nicely. Put fire sleeve in the areas where it's gonna be near the exhaust because they all run closely together around back there. Not too close, but
yeah,
I still want to put sleeving on. Mike is going to get behind the wheel and then retire from filming and show us what he's got behind the
full-time Drift Masters
driver.
You've heard us talk about it. You've heard some of the parts that we're choosing in this car, why they're a little bit different, but the core philosophy of this build is lightweight. And I want to let you guys know that the reason being for that is because this car is going to be shipped overseas and competing over there, I wanted to go with an engine package that we already knew and we already know is well within the means of what we're doing with it. And what I mean by that is this same exact engine package is what was in my E36 for basically 2 seasons and was in my S15 for 1 season, and that same engine has gone through a lot of abuse, and we know that at the 850 horsepower level, it's reliable. So the goal was to remove 100 to 200 pounds of weight from the car. Rather than making an extra 100, 150 horsepower, it nets out to be about the same. And the cool thing is when you have lighter drift cars, you also put less strain on drivetrain components. The clutch sees less abuse, the gearbox sees less abuse, the diff, everything is happier when a car is lighter. So spending a little bit more on lightweight stuff might make a little bit more reliable engine and drivetrain program. So I'm gonna go into the details of this engine setup because I haven't really said everything exactly in a video before. The core of it to me is the Garrett G35 1050 turbo. This is my favorite turbo. Technically the G35 900 is my favorite turbo for a 2J, but for a 3.4, the G35 1050 is my favorite turbo. The compressor is still pretty small and the shaft is pretty light, so the transient response is like NA. It's just like bah, bah, You're always on the pipe, there's never any lag, and for drifting, it's really important to be able to get into your power band as quickly as possible, and I learned that when I drove my other E36 with a 3-liter motor, tried to drive it with the same grip level, and it took so long to get up to wheel speed that it wound up throwing off my marks, because now you have to wait for the car to come into boost, even if you clutch dump it off limiter. So this setup is really good. It's probably a little bit undersized for a 3.4. I could probably put something on it that makes closer to 1,200 horsepower, but again, this is what I know, this is what I love, and this is what I've won the most competitions with. This manifold is actually the one from the S15, which is also the same manifold that we had on the other E36. No particular reason other than the fact that we're sharing spares between all of the cars. Doc Race actually doesn't even make 2JZ manifolds anymore, which is a bummer, but it's helpful to have everything on the same jig. That way if something breaks, we can always pull it off another car. We do run the biggest AR possible on this. It's a 121. We don't rev the engine super high, but between ethanol and a 3.4, it's really important to let it breathe. Engine-wise, specifically, this is a BC stroker kit. It is their lightweight 3.4 crank. I don't remember the compression on this motor off the top of my head, but usually we run somewhere between 9-to-1 and 10-to-1. I wanna say, Johan, do you remember what this one is? This one 10-to-1? All right, so we're a little bit spicy. We run on Ignite Red fuel. This car, I don't know if we'll be able to get Ignite overseas, but regardless, on ethanol, you can get a little bit more greedy with the compression, picks up a little bit more response, a little bit more spice. Head package on this, it's a CNC'd head with BC 272 cams. We've tried a couple different ones, a couple different sizes. Again, this is like the package that seems to work really well. And I do want to say engine packages is something that we are focusing on this year with Drift HQ. Not only will we be able to send out an engine package if you have a local builder that you like to use, but we're actually going to be doing fully assembled engines that we're going to be having on the shelf this year. My goal, of course, would be to have the exact setup that I run, selfishly, because then we would also have more spares. But if that's something you're interested in, reach out to sales@drifthq.com. Whether you want to go wild with a 3.4 setup, or if you want to be cost effective and start with a GE motor, we have packages for all different types of uses: street cars, drift cars, and the guys know JZs like the back of their head. I mean, this compound is literally all BMWs that have JZ engines. Couple minor things, we've got the PRP coil kit. Super nice and tidy, and also really easy to service. We've had a couple different coil setups over the years on JZs, including LS coil packs, and some of them are just a nightmare if you get a diag or do something at the track. These radium fittings are the coolest thing in the world. We run them on every single engine that they make them for. They swivel, they're nice, they're clean, very easy to access. It's not on here right now, but you saw plasma man intake manifold. That's a big change on this car coming from the other one. I predict we might lose a little bit of mid-range torque, but pick up a little bit of top-end power with it. It's kind of just a common thing you see with plenums. The other car, I didn't want to delete the brake booster, and that's part of the reason why I kept the stock intake manifold. So this car, we are doing the Chase Bays booster delete. I don't know how it's gonna feel. This car's actually got completely different brakes too. It's like a very lightweight brake package from Willwood. I don't know how it's gonna feel. If it's good, it's likely something that'll implement in the other car, but we're kind of doing all the stuff on this car that we've talked about doing on the blue car, but we never got around to doing, or just didn't really see the need to do. Other than that, got a True Focus Fab catch can. I want to give a massive shout out to them because they knocked this thing out in like literally no time. They're usually mounted on the other side of the car, but we always like to keep catch cans on the opposite side from all of the hot parts, just in the event that it spills out. Oil next to hot things can cause a fire. And I'm trying to think what else, other fancy stuff. I mean, it's pretty simple. It's a JZ, not dry sump. Thank God for BMWs. They allow us to run a rear sump pan, and with all the G-forces drifting, going on banks and stuff, you don't really run into oil starvation issues like you do on front pan S chassis. However though, technically Wisefab has a kit now, so you can run rear sump in S chassis too. I haven't tried it yet, but I heard it's pretty cool. This year we have officially partnered with PWR as well, which is very exciting for me. You guys might have seen in my videos a long time ago when I was in Australia, I got to visit their headquarters. They are the leading in cooling in the world. They make stuff for, whether it's aerospace, Formula One, all stuff that they probably can't even talk about because they're under NDA. They make the highest end products that's gonna keep our car the coolest. Not only that, they've been custom making us stuff to be as light as humanly possible. So stuff like an intercooler, we're saving 10, 15 pounds off the nose of the car, while also being significantly more efficient than its heavier counterpart. So very cool. They're able to make completely custom stuff with a pretty quick turnaround, and they also have a lot of really great off-the-shelf options for many of the popular platforms in drifting, street cars, you name it. Another big change on this car is we made the switch over to BC's ER series. On the other car, we're running DS, and that was more than adequate for what we were using E36 for. But given a lot of the different scenarios this car is going to be put in, having separate rebound and compression adjustments is going to be huge. Very similar to the setups that I've run on all my other Formula Drift level cars. And this sets custom spec to exactly what we're doing with the car, the weights in the front and the rear, and it's going to have us gripping however we choose. One other thing that's different with this car is we're running an FDF angle kit that I gave a little bit of specs and differences and changes for. We're still in the testing phase, I want to say. I did one event with my other car with the FDF angle kit. I liked a lot of the things that I was able to do with the car that I was limited with my old angle kit. And I think give it maybe 1 or 2 rounds, we're gonna be able to dial it in where I'll have plenty of angle and we can make the car do exactly what we need. But it's way easier to adjust. These little things, I forget what they call them, the coolest thing ever. So like if you have an E36 and you have lollipops, it's annoying, you have to like pull them out to adjust them. This you can adjust while still leaving it in. Everything's very easy to replace. We obviously are the USA distributor for FDF, and their customer service is amazing, so whenever we need spare parts or anything, we get it like that. Moving backwards with the car, I guess I didn't talk about fueling. You guys will see when it's fully assembled. We're running Radium's fuel cell with their surge tank with 3 D-Schwartz DW400 fuel pumps that are powering DW 1500cc injectors. Obviously you didn't see them because the manifold's not in right now. We've had amazing luck with them, run D-Schwartz injectors on all the cars, reliable, very affordable, easy to tune with, and great support. Transmission, same thing as the other E36, G-Force, GSR, 4-speed. I used to be a sequential boy, and then once I saw the way of the 4-speed, I would never go back. In drifting, you really only use like 2 to 3 gears max. Sequential almost becomes redundant, and a lot of times they're built with all the ratios being a lot closer together, so you end up shifting more with the sequential. And when you're like used to a 4-speed, you can shift it, like I think I can shift this just as fast as I can shift any sequential. In drifting, we can't take advantage of the flat shift features that you would use with the sequential, just because sometimes it gets weird when you have wheel spin and stuff. People do it, and they make it work for sure, but I definitely prefer the 4-speed. Literally went a full season again, I think almost 2 full seasons, 0 maintenance. Johan will pull it apart to inspect, takes him no time, and the wear and tear is like virtually nothing. So that's cool. Same handbrake setup as the other car. This car we did go with an aftermarket steering column. It's adjustable, it collapses, and most importantly, it saves weight over the stock unit. The other car, again, like that car started as a deal because someone owned it and it was a street car, crashed it, couldn't afford to fix it, and then it just evolved over the years. This year we're doing everything from the start. Fire suppression, the biggest thing I guess is rear mount radiator. I love not having rear mount radiators because I just have never been a fan of having a lot more weight in the rear. So that's gonna be a big change of the car. We took precautions to move it as far forward as we possibly can rather than having it super far sticking off the back. You basically just get a pendulum effect and it kind of drives like if you've ever driven a 911. You'll know exactly what I'm talking about. It's the same thing with drifting. The more you can kind of have the weight central, the better. But I think this is gonna be a good location. Again, PWR, we got the sweet HGK shroud, brushless fans. Rear end is pretty much identical to the other car. A little bit different crash structure. And then the diff, we switched over to a Bulldog. Really nice billet casing. Looks pretty, should be strong. Reinforce the crap out of the chassis wherever we could. Yeah, I feel like that's about it. Obviously, there's gonna be more updates throughout the car, but I've been seeing a lot of questions just because we're kind of grazing over the surface of things. So comment if there's anything else you want us to touch on. Oh, clutch-wise, I didn't talk about the clutch. I don't want to say I think we're under clutch because I feel like I'm going to jinx myself. We're running a Clutch Masters 850 series clutch. I think that we are on the upper limits of it, but we've had really great luck with it. I like the flywheel weight. I've tried different clutches that I've not been a fan with. Not a sponsored thing, we pay for the clutches, but a lot of drifting, a lot of racing, you find what works and you don't change it. So trying to keep the things that are the biggest headaches the same. That way we know exactly what we're getting and know exactly what to expect.
Finally here.
One of the most important things for the car.
Fresh harness.
Engine harness. Chassis, chassis, and chassis.
If you didn't recognize his familiar face, Jay from JZ Wraps in Texas came out and he's been putting in work, not only on this car, but on the other one too. You guys can obviously get kind of a sneak peek of what the wrap's gonna look like, but he's been crushing it. This front bumper I think is one of my absolute favorite pieces. Spent a lot of time just getting all the trim to look absolutely perfect, hide as many seams as possible. And of course the finish of the nose attack vinyl is coming out amazing. Next video, you guys should see the final look of how this thing is coming together, but a lot of progress has been made. Got the wiring harness, Johan's getting all that situated right now. Hopefully we'll have it firing and ripping in no time.